Hey, everybody, we're at another Carnival of Random Zoom with their Zoom group, Pat.
Hey.
And we may have a surprise guest popping in, but right now returning is Chas Lockwood. Hey, Chas. Say hi, Chas.
Say hi, Charles.
Hey, I'm happy to be back, and I'm just happy watching this show snowball out of control with more and more VIP guests.
Oh, and wait till some of the antics we have, especially at the Zooms. And welcoming, finally, we're so glad to have Stan Merrell. Hi, Stan.
Well, hello there, gentlemen, and I use that word loosely.
Yes, very loosely.
I'm actually going to start a different way now. People don't think I read your mail that comes in, but I don't know who this guy is. I got one from some guy, Mike Murray, and he wanted to ask you this question about, do you say anything about the appearance of Cousin Al on the Brian Bram show?
The Brian Bram show. You know, we actually hung out with Brian Bram about a few years ago. And so supposedly the tape exists in the Brian Bram archives in Boston, Massachusetts. So we were in town seeing Iggy Pop, and Brian Bram's office was right around the corner from the venue. So Brian Bram, that was a lot of fun. I remember hauling all the equipment in with Cousin Al, and do you remember the WEZO DJ that we really torqued off? He got really mad at us because we were tying up the elevator. So.
Yeah. Well, the Brian Bram show, that was when Stan was the manager of Cousin Al and the Relatives. And he was like, hey, boys, you're going on TV next Saturday night. With Brian Bram, he was like a cool guy. He would do science fiction horror movies, and then he'd have bands on. The other great one he had on was, help me out, Stan. I saw Bobby sobbing in the lobby. Who are those guys?
The D-Grads.
D-Grads. A bunch of really squirrely Rochester New Wave bands. Great snapshot from time.
Yeah, we actually have video of New Math. No, that was the After Hours. I don't know, that was Brian Bram. We actually have video, though, of personal effects on Brian Bram's show. And he was also a good friends. Remember the cowboy host? What was his name on Channel 31?
Ranger Bob.
Ranger Bob.
Yeah.
Hey, Ranger Bob there. Hey, doing there, kiddos?
Oh my God, that's yeah.
Hey, can I impersonate a kid guest on the Brian Bram show over the phone already?
Sure.
Pow, 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 pow.
Oh no,
pow, 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 pow.
Or it would be Pix on Channel 11.
Oh,
would
yeah,
be Pix.
Yeah, that was WPIX.
WPIX.
Yeah, it's some kind of weird analog, like fake digital thing where they would scream pow into the phone and it would like hit targets or something and then get a prize.
They were just playing. They just like had a Commodore 64 plugged into the board, and they would just hit the button whenever somebody said pow, and it was some high tech shit back in the day.
Low tech. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I got go on.
There was Miss Rita's Kitty Corner too, I got to say, with the lovely Miss Rita.
Oh, I don't remember that. Oh, I vaguely remember that, but
she was kind of like Andrea Martin on Saturday on SCTV, but real. Anyway,
but when COVID started, I actually got an Atari out, and you looked in the day. Wow, now those graphics suck.
Yeah, watched Conan O'Brien play E.T. on the Atari, old YouTube channel thing.
Oh, that was That was the game that like broke video games. Just almost destroyed the whole industry.
Did you see the documentary where they actually dug up, found the buried them?
The landfill where they just chucked all the cartridges in a landfill.
It's a question I want to ask, and I was thinking about, yes, we don't do research for this show. I mean, if you ever listened to it, you know that.
Yeah.
But how did it all begin for all of you, like both of you, in terms of music? How did you go off the beaten path into the local scene in general?
Well, I will start because I have a better memory than Charles.
Agreed.
Charles is
I had graduated from college in Ohio. I had a degree in English, and somebody went up to me and said, so what are you going to do? Teach, right? I said, no, why would you ask that? Teach? Why did I major in English? So I moved back to Rochester, got a job at the Record Archive, hung out with Rock and Roll Joel, got started on WRUR-FM, And shortly after that, Brian Goodman, was talking to Cousin Al, who was actually his cousin, and said, "Hey," he's having a little happy puff, as he always says. "Hey, I got an idea. You know Stan the Man? Let's make him Stan the Manager." And I was kind of like the Captain Lou Albano for a while of Cousin Al and Relatives. And then the first time I met Charles, I looked at him, and actually we wrote part of a song right there. And it was called Hey Cecilia. And it went like this. Hey Cecilia, is this what they call necrophilia? And we wrote a few.
Hey, we have a special guest here, Suzi.
The lovely Suzi Willpower.
Hey.
Hey, Suze.
Hey. Well, you're sort of there frozen.
Hey, Suzi.
She's just got a frozen smile there.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was just like a still or
is it a still picture there, Suzi?
It is right now.
So right now we might have another guest.
I see some movement. Blink, Suzi.
Nothing ever on the freaking carnival. We ad-lib everything.
Yeah,
but while that's happening, Chaz, you remember
probably on a cricket hot spot like mine.
Do you remember, Chaz? Do you remember
there,
anything about how you got into music here? Like Stan's origin story?
Yeah. So I mean, I was on the last show. I was like, guy, and when you're not when you're not a
there you are.
Yeah.
Oh.
Suzi, what's up, man?
There you are.
Hey.
By remote, by your car, I see you.
Yes. Yeah.
What's the story behind this? The car and everything.
Oh, I was helping Frank and Deb buy a grill.
There you go.
Yep.
Did they grill you on? Did they grill you on what they wanted to buy?
Uh-huh.
Whoa! But
Yay.
yeah. As a matter of fact, we were talking about they have Greaser Fest going on.
They have Greaser Fest over at Photo City Grill.
Photo City Music Hall. Yep. So yeah, that and Chops' band is staying over with the fabulous. Oh gosh, why can't I think of his last name for the heckin' life of me? He's not Todd Bradley.
Todd Bradley.
Todd the Bod Bradley.
Todd the Bod Bradley and Chops is playing also. Chops, that fantastic ex-Mets manager. Go Mets.
Are you in Henrietta? I just saw an Advanced Auto Parts out your window.
No, I'm in Ronda Boy.
Well, Chad, we were going back to our origin stories about how we got into local music, and Chaz was just going to explain whatever he remembers. So probably about a year.
Yeah.
We got to keep this random, so I'm going to answer that really short. So I was just, you know me, I'm passionate about music, loved music, and I was sort of a musical awakening, meeting Stan, getting into the whole new wave thing, and I had my, Hondo, poor kid had a Hondo 2 guitar, and when you're not a jock, another way to be cool is to be in a band. So that's the short answer.
Didn't work for me, but
right.
It didn't work for me. But the thing for me is, people, as you would know, I got into it just because my brother was in New Math. So that's why I went off the beaten path. Because I was in a Catholic suburban school. Well, if you didn't like they would call the faceless bands with the names like REO Speedwagon or all those. You were weird. So that was pretty much it. But Stan, did you know what the connection to is? I met Suzi because of you. Because she was in the early, because the Badenoffs were playing. It must have been the Badenoffs at the hotel, and Earl Cram Review was playing. That's where I met Suzi.
Yep.
So
rest in peace, Sam.
Yes. But it's how we're all connected like that and everything. It's kind of weird.
And I met both, I met Chaz, I met you through Lindell, and Stan, I met you at 88.5, your friends on the web. You are. He was my intern, and Stan was the guy who taught me everything I needed to know.
Yes, and it's like it's amazing what we remember and what we forget. So it's just like it seems like an eon ago. I was on RUR for about almost 6 years, and it seems like it's a blur. I remember some fun things at RUR. I used to take over any of the extra shifts if I had time. And some days I didn't have, I'd be on the air for 12 hours. So that was an interesting time,
Pirate radio, as I call it. It's like now you
well, not really pirate radio, of course, but we had.
I know, but I like the term. It sounds daring.
we had that antenna on one of the buildings on campus, and a lot of people, said that it caused health problems, and they moved it. So
it did cause health problems because it would turn you into a hipster.
Hey. There you go. Start drinking IPAs and wear band T-shirts and listen to college radio.
Yeah.
The best part of being involved with what we were doing, we would drive the guys around town when they came to play. So drove the Violent Femmes around, hung out with Pat D'Annunzio.
Bless his soul.
And when he came up with the Flesh Tones for one of their gigs. This is before Beauty and Sadness came out, and he was the road manager. And so I drove him around. We went to the record archive, all sorts of places. Was a nice guy.
Yeah, he actually, and is this true? Maybe you could confirm this. I heard that he roadied for Suzanne Vega for a while.
They worked together in an office.
Yeah, I think they were.
Yeah, no, they were. Yeah, they had
worked
like
together,
a day job together.
Yeah, she was an office manager.
Because she was one of the nicest people I've ever met, and so was Pat. I saw them in Manhattan Square Park, which was like a reunion because everybody was there that we know. And I talked to Pat for a long time. He told us this was when he was doing if you can guarantee me 50 people, I'll come to your house.
The living room. God, I wish to God that I could have had the wherewithal to put one of those together,
Pat was interesting because he also was a identifying conservative, and he actually ran for Senate once.
What?
He did. Yeah, he did. He ran for a Senate seat in New Jersey.
And so, it was kind of like, well, Pat, this is the early days of CPAC, but
he was a pretty moderate.
He was.
Today's standards, of course, but he was very much.
Oh, come on! Today they're moderate.
About the traditional values and stuff like that, which is
he would be he was a Rockefeller Republican.
Yes, yeah, he was a good guy though. Smithereens came to Lilac Fest one year, not too long ago, and it was probably about a year or two before he passed. And it was just, I am so glad that I went because I never got a chance to see them live, and it was great. And
I always say, who doesn't like the Smithereens? I always would think they're one of those bands that if you hear them, it wouldn't be okay. Some people might say, but everybody who hears them, I can't say how you wouldn't like them.
Yeah, they were just.
What the thing is, though, they're power pop. That's that's close to my heart. But we're in our own little bubble. But I mean, out there, the big world, power pop is pretty nerdy actually. Compared to the big stuff.
Well, it reminds. I was listening to Behind the Wall of Sleep this afternoon, and it just pictures a time in my life, like hanging around Park Avenue, the kind of people I knew. It just had that feel, and the way like his lyrics about call you up to have a drink, your roommate was not around, and I just think of like my times on Park Avenue in the local scene, and David Aquesta, Chaz.
Oh boy.
Well,
I would love to know. Hi, Dave. If you're ever here,
we never know. He's one person.
He was a really passionate. He was a very passionate, cool guy. Just in love with Brian Wilson. I did a lot of weird like 4-track demos with that guy.
Yeah, he's somebody who still I've never been able to find him. Not online. Last time I saw him was actually at his wedding over in Geneva. This was like almost 20 years ago, and I called his dad one year. I would send him Christmas cards, and he just said he didn't know where he was.
Well, I will say that it's interesting. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Smithereens are touring with guest vocalists, and one of the guest vocalists is Marshall Crenshaw.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Marshall Crenshaw and Robin Wilson from the Gin Blossoms.
Oh wow!
I just saw last time I saw Marshall Crenshaw was with those Straitjackets up at the Penthouse. But
last time I saw Marshall Crenshaw, Dave Edmunds was doing an acoustic tour.
Oh, was it on Montage?
At the Montage, and then Marshall Crenshaw opened up, and then Marshall Crenshaw just sat at the bar outside of the venue and just kind of looking like, like he was not looking very happy. So I'm glad to hear he's, doing stuff. So
I remember when that first debut Crenshaw album came out, I would read the reviews in Rolling Stone, and I would read the critics, and I'd believe them, because that's how you get. When you're getting your start in being a music appreciator, you put your faith in the critics, and they're all giving it 5 stars. He came to Red Creek. I loved the album already, and they were a trio. It was him, his brother, and a drummer, and that was actually one of the best things I ever saw. They nailed it.
It was a 96-cent show over at the Record Archive, over at the Red Creek, and there were probably 10 people there, and that was a great show.
Oh my gosh, it was good.
Yeah.
But that was
just like the record.
I remember the Marshall Crenshaw Edmunds show, and this was the early or late show, but he was sitting at the bar. I went up just to talk to him. I didn't want an autograph or anything. I was like, Mr. Crenshaw, he seemed miserable.
He did.
For whatever reason.
He did not look like he wanted to be there, and he did not look like happy. He looked kind of depressed.
But I read there was a Nick Lowe bio from a couple of years ago, and I highly recommend it. There's some guy named Greg Townsend who I talked to, and he said, I don't know, I'll have to read it. He's quoted in the book, that liar. but anyways, it sounds like Dave's a miserable guy, and it might not have been fun on that tour, but I don't know. I've never met him, so
I think Dave's retired. I think Dave Edmunds, and of course we know Greg. We're friends from like childhood, and fans from adulthood. So best guitarists come out of Rochester, one of the top 5.
And actually, there's a few times that Greg actually sat in and played with Lotus STP. So, we at the Rangovian Embassy, and also at Hungerfest, which was this, I can't remember the name of the person who put it together, but it was sister of Mike. Passed away recently. I can't think of it. He was the son-in-law of one of the stepson of one of the Ray Nothnagel. It's escaping me. I'll remember it later.
I don't know if Stan introduced Greg to the Skeletons, but he sure greased the machine, and that became a nice little partnership back then.
That's the lore I've never figured out. The first time I ever saw the Essentials, I was at a Kink show. The UK Jive tour was at U of R. My friend took me over to Rochester. We went over to Jazzberries, and the Essentials were playing. I swear it was with the Skeletons, but I've asked Mark Bradley, and he says, okay, I believe you, but I don't remember if it was them. And it was, I guess, the first show of Jazzberries on East Avenue. So I know I saw the Essentials, but I don't know if it was the Skeletons.
The Skeletons did play at Jazzberries, and they did that show also with Chandler Travis doing. He was opening for them solo. I picked up a tape from Chandler at the time, but that was a fantastic show. It was incredibly loud.
Yeah, plus Aquesta was really drunk and spilled the pitcher of Bass Ale on me. So that's Suzi, are you doing that because of Jazzberries or because of the beer?
But I just actually was converting a lot of cassettes. I have to finish them up. Archiving stuff for Mark and Ellie, and Mark and Ellie hear this. They're coming your way, and one of the Essentials gigs or Salamanders gigs that they did after they came back from Springfield, and they introduced. That's when they did the introduction of the song "Back of the Silver Saddle," which they also do in the High Risers, and it was written about the Silver Saddle Motel in Springfield, and that's the place where Ronnie Self died. And I was talking to Chaz last week about Ronnie Self, but look him up. Like Skeletons covered a ton of his songs, And I think also the High Risers do a couple Ronnie Self songs as well.
I know Todd does some Merrells. He does like from Shake and Push. He does Her Kind of Guy. I've just played that a couple times. But the other one,
the Merrells / Skeletons covered, a a Central Salamanders High Riser song. Last Night I Spent My Money. So
I found that Salamander's album at Record Archive years ago, and I couldn't imagine who would part with it, but it's mine now. So, but I'm going to jump back to one Patanizo story. Sadly, the last memory I have from we're talking all this stuff, he gave me his card. So he's asking me where should he go to eat. Some guy overheard, he's screaming, "Get him the dinosaur, get him the dinosaur, get him the dinosaur." So that's the last memory I have of Patanizo.
Yeah.
So, hey, can I tell you, I was a nerd, a fanboy. I sent fan mail to people sometimes. So I remember.
Sorry I didn't send back, Chaz.
I sent them fan mail, and I got back a Christmas card signed by that band, the Smithereens, and also I sent a fan mail to Remember World Party.
Oh yeah, goodbye.
That guy sent me back a Christmas cassette. Really nice.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah.
Suzanne Vega did that to me. She actually sent me a Christmas card, and I got for years postcards from Suzanne Vega for Christmas. But Susie, you missed this question. We were asking, how did you get into alternative music around here?
I got into alternative music by
underground, as we call it. We're all from the underground. Except Patrick. Ouch.
Stan, you probably know my ex-brother-in-law, Rick Jensen, who also used to DJ over at U of R, at WRUR, who is the one who got me into RUR in the first place. He and my sister are the ones who got me into alternative music and underground, and he's the one who got me to my first Ramones concert. I think I was 14 at the time. 4Gs, and Rick's record collection, I just would sit and just stare at his record collection and just pull it out and just play another record and just listen to it and just go from one obscure album to the next. And he's like, "Okay, we're going out. You coming with us?" And I'm like, "Okay." Yeah, I was bit right away, like when I was 14.
Well, now, I mean, Susie, you're about my age, so you'll be able to drink in a couple of years. But one of the memories we have, and I'd like to just talk about this just randomly, is the effect Scorgies had on all this, and how many things you've seen there. But what's like a couple of things that stand out, which I don't like. What was your best experience or worst? Because it depends what day it is. I mean, I remember Alex Chilton stands out in the time the Cramps. Remember Lux, how Scorgie was pissed because of what Lux did one night.
Yeah.
Go on, Stan.
No, it's okay. Susie. I know I missed the Cramps and I missed the Ramones at Scorgie's. So but since I got involved in doing promotion there, and I didn't realize, okay, Dan Deutsch had left, and other people had left. And so it was Scorgie and me, and I was responsible for the Alex Chilton show, and which lost money on. Yeah. And
that doesn't matter.
And we put together a tribute, a super group to open up for him. And it's like outside of the people who were in the opening band, there have been like 10 paying customers. But that was a fantastic show.
Sometimes they're the best shows.
And then Don was looking at me at the end. He was like, "Arr!" And he had this, Bakelite ashtray, and he's like, "Arr!" And all you could do is just smash the ashtray in the bar, just like say,
and then he became
"Stay away from Don."
And anytime that Don would get angry, you'd literally see his face turn red.
Yeah.
And it would look like his hair was about ready to twirl off. I used to work in the kitchen with Sky, and because I also worked at the Strath Island at the time, and Don hired me. I lied about my age, so of course.
Well, nobody cared in those days as much. Like these days, like I've done the door now, I won't let you in, but like those days, nobody cared as much. But there's a story, and I could confirm it if their brains aren't fried from new math. There's a story that they opened for the Ramones. You remember that song Money they would play, and people would throw money up to the stage? I have a video of it even like a couple times. They would play Kevin, they'd sing, dollar bills. I guess Scorgy's manager came with a vacuum and vacuumed up the money.
That's just.
Hey, New Math has a new rarities and B-sides release digitally.
I've actually got the Willie Loco Alexander recordings. I have to give to like Mike or somebody.
No, give them to me.
Are you? Here we go with the bidding and everything.
No, because I can digitize them. I've got a digitized setup. Got a really nice NAD cassette deck, and I've got doing some really nice rips.
And here's the other story I'll give you. That night with the Cramps, and again, I was not there. I just hear it secondhand, that they went to Marge's afterwards. And Ivy had a leopard skin coat on, and some drunk looked at her and kept going, va, 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 boom, over and over again. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's plausible.
Very plausible.
Rob, remember that Invisible Party opened up for Willie Alexander because I was probably one of the only DJs playing Willie on WRUR, and then I was just like gotten a little inner circle thing with that was one time I got props from Kevin Patrick, was just like all just hanging out, and they're coating their cigarettes with some funny stuff and smoking.
Bubblegum.
Yeah, just like
remember, like when the Kings played and Greg wanted bubblegum for Christmas, it was Bazooka bubblegum.
Well, they weren't coating their cigarettes with bubblegum and smoking it.
Willie. I don't know. I'm a belated Willie acolyte, but it's 30 years too late. But
hit him with the X, Chaz.
I met him thanks to Judd Williams. I went to see there was like a reunion bash up in one of the few times I've been out, and it had like the Nervous Eaters, which was a Boston punk band. They all looked like us, like a bunch of guys running a hardware store. They didn't look like rock stars. But Willie was there, and he's got this X factor. He's a very charismatic guy. I think he's like 70 or something.
Yeah,
and he had an attractive wife or girlfriend. He's very charismatic, and I went up to him and I said, yeah, my friend Stan gave me a copy of your record. I love that silly song called Do the Baldy, Do the Bald. He just grinned ear to ear. He went, that's hair. So anyway, the two guys who have drank from the fountain of youth up in the Boston area here are Willie and Peter Wolf, who just
Jay Giles.
Good for them.
And we saw Peter Wolf at Solid Sound, and also we saw him opening up for Tom Petty that one year, and that was the last Tom Petty show.
Yeah.
I think in the 1980s, that was the only person I would say was sort of mainstream I listened to was Tom Petty.
Oh, there's the story about how Smithereens got the gig to open for them. They a tour not too long ago. The Smithereens actually would open for Tom Petty just because he heard them on the radio. He just heard one of their songs on the radio and just contacted them and says, want to open for me for a bit? And they were just all over it. So
I want to actually go into the Badenoffs a little bit. And here is one album.
Fearless Leader.
Yeah, here's the Cousin Al album, just from Chaz. Who is that handsome man?
Was that Wave Wolf was produced by Darren Bernessel?
Yeah, I think so.
And then Step on a Big Boy, which was...
Yeah. And this dawned on me on the way here. Is the writing with the, first of all, how did the Badenoffs come about? But is any of this stuff influenced by Viv Stanshall? Some of the humor?
I felt that we were Bonzo-ish,
Well, the titles of the song, as I showed Patrick.
And actually, when Neil Innes came to the Bop Shop Atrium,
I was there. I
gave him a copy of it, and he told me that he was going to give it to Viv, and especially because Viv loves songs about Hitler. And
he's British. He's a British comedian.
Well, it's the song. It's time to party with Hitler's dog. So I sincerely hope that Neil passed that on to him, and that was a great honor meeting Neil. And we weren't fully aware, processing all the Bonzo stuff before we started the band, and I think the concept behind the band is that, anybody who brought an idea to the band, we were just going to do it, say yes. So, and it's kind of like improv comedy where, you always say yes. So we were trying to carry that sense in our band, and it was a lot of fun. And then later on with other members, they started saying no. So it took on a different tone. And then it eventually just because we were really bad at promoting ourselves. And
you were good enough to have a cartoon character named after the band, though. Even though he was before you, he's still named after you somehow.
But there's as far as, hey, eeny meeny chili beanie, these spirits are about to speak. Hey everybody. So nothing up the sleeve, presto. So it's it was a lot of fun being in that band, but after a while it just kind of just went its way. And then I like to say, we kind of broke up, and then they reformed behind Dan Eaton. So it's like the Stan Eaton band was the Bad Knobs minus Stan plus Dan. And I dined out on that for a long time, and actually I found out later that Adam felt really guilty, and I said, no, Adam, it's fine. You get the Dan Eaton band's good band.
We were like the Sid Barrett, and then they went on to become the Roger Waters version of You're the Crazy Guy, Stan.
I would like to ask Suzi a question, because she's just looking there, striking a pose. And but Suzi, how did you get the start in being a band? Because I never knew you had that voice until I heard you.
That makes sense, Stan. That really makes sense. You never knew she had the voice you heard her.
No. But seriously,
I know. We're kidding around with you.
No. Suzi is a powerhouse singer.
It would be Geoff Wilson, actually, who first took interest in me when I was 18. I don't know if you guys remember that hot dog place on the corner of Oxford and Park Ave.
Oh,
yeah.
Was that Zabs?
Zabs, yeah. I was working there, and he was hanging out with Ron Tripp and May. I don't know if you guys heard, but Ron passed away.
Ron
Tripp. I don't know if you guys knew him. Amazing bass player. Anyway, it was him and Greg Slack. We're all hanging out, and I was singing some song, and I was like, "Hey, this girl can really sing, man." And I'm like, "Yeah, I play guitar too." "You play guitar? Why aren't you playing in a band?" I'm like, "Because I'm a pastry chef. I don't have time for music." And I didn't have time for music. I didn't want to be in a band. I just, I wasn't interested in it at the time. And it was probably not until I was 25 to 28 that I went to school for vocal performance, for opera, really. And when I moved back to Rochester, my biological dad had passed away. So I moved back to Rochester, and I started singing, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go to an open mic and hang out. Geoff is there. He invited me to come and sing a song. So I did. And I went up and I sang a cappella by myself. I didn't want anybody to go up with me. I was like, if I sing and people like what I'm doing, then, and if they join with me, then I know that I'm okay. I'm kind of okay. That's when I got bit by the performance bug. And I was 28, I think, at the time. So 20 something years later, I'm still in a stupid band.
It goes all over. We had Lisa Loudon on recently. She didn't start till she was 45.
Love Lisa. She's great.
But I never knew that. She never started till she was 45. It's like you could start when you start.
Yeah.
Start when you start.
That makes sense, Dan. I'm doing really well today. Really well. But I think there's one thing akin to now Stan's got a crowd behind him. they're filling in. But I think the one connection I made with the Bad Knobs and is I think you can't define your music. I think like Stan, if you listen to your voice, you don't know how old you are or anything. And the songs, they could be like I said, you'd both be great if I did some indie movie that actually took off for once. You'd be both great on the soundtrack. Don't hold your breath and wait for money the way I'm doing with stuff.
Yeah, no, that's fun. I didn't know I could sing until I started singing. I mean, I did musicals and stuff, and I had a background in theater, so I really consider myself to be a performer more than a musician. And so, it's been really great. Our last project, which was Big Ditch, that, I was able to reunite with, original bass player and drummer from.
I saw you at a firehouse. I saw you at a firehouse you played. Bro.
And and then because I wasn't writing any of the Big Ditch songs, so I just focused on the vocal performance and, experimenting with, fake tube and throat singing and, bringing other elements to it and just like focusing on, hammering the sound out. But it's fun. And I love, all the projects that Suzi's been in. I'm watching Chaz. It's like going like this.
Oh, sorry.
Hello there. Hi. There, Chaz.
If you want to sign Chaz pictures, send care of the podcast. We'll get you one. I'll just sign it. You won't know.
But for the longest time, I couldn't write a song. I really didn't have a songwriting partner. So getting back to the Bad Knobs, I was able to write with, Adam. I wrote with Bruce Johnson. Wrote with Ken Stahl, and also Greg Hassett, who later was later member of the band. Of course, Greg is in Tommy Burnett's group, and Large Marge, also was in Cuckoo Boy, and he also had the band The Pants, and he had, what was the name of his latter period band? Suzi, do you remember that? The more punk band, very loud.
Big Hair. Are you thinking of Big Hair?
No, not Big Hair. The Gowns.
Oh, yeah.
The Gowns, very Dead Boys influenced, so a lot of energy.
That was a high energy, yeah. That was, you're talking about. I'm having a brain fart all of a sudden, and I'm
jumping. If you remember, I think that's one of the biggest strengths of Rochester. I've heard so many people who move just go, we don't get the diversity of music you do here. I have a friend who lives in Atlanta, and you would think big city stuff. He says not half the type of stuff we have here. We're like on any given day, pre-COVID and maybe after COVID, you can go like after the show, I'm going to go see a jazz drummer at the Bop Shop tonight. But they say there's not half as much music here.
Yeah, but back to Greg Hassett real quick.
There you go.
We were doing a song called He'll Thank Me Later, and his daughter was still alive. He rests in peace. And he was saying, she freaking loves your voice. My daughter loves your voice. She can't get over your voice. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really awesome hearing it from a younger person. The voice. So he laid down the tracks for us on that song, and Greg's got such a great range with his guitar that he can play anything, anything that he wants to. That's a great picture. Is that Freddie in the background?
That's Todd the Bod Bradley, and that's
Todd.
Look at that, Todd the Bod.
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
I've been trying to push that nickname for him for a while. I also have a nickname for Mark Bradley. We call him Bark Madley.
Bark Madley. I'm sure Ellie likes that one.
Because, because of sax playing. Because, get the bark of the sax.
I like
That's
that.
one thing I'll ask, being how, and this is just one of those whatever questions, I'll call it a whatever question. How do you think it's like going to music and everything has changed or stayed the same over these decades? Except that we're older now, obviously, and we probably don't stay out till like 4 a.m. anymore.
Well, I'm living in the North Shore of Boston, and I'm like, I'm really.
But your commute to shows is longer than.
I'm living the old man life, so I don't get out. I don't get out like I could. I just don't. And I don't want to ever get a DUI around here. And I've learned a lot of lessons. But I listen to WUMB, which is like the Americana station here, and it's shocking how much talent. I mean, the whole there's a band called Casey and Clayton, and a lot of people that sound like Joni and Neil, and I'm not putting them down. It blows my mind. Just there's this whole crop of people coming up in this Americana scene, putting out releases. If you ever listen to WUMB, it'll bear out.
And
But
I
as
think
far as a live scene, I don't know. I've got to ask. You got to get Judd Williams on this show.
We will.
He's still
Yeah, Judd, how's he doing?
still connected. I hung out with him once, but he's around here and he's connected. He knows what's going on.
we'll get him. What about NRBQ? Did you ever hear NRBQ down in Massachusetts anymore? Anything that people remember them?
Stan turned me on to them too. They're just legendary. We're gonna go see Al Anderson.
September 22nd.
Yep.
Going to see Big
original
Al
guitar
in
player.
Saybrook, Old Saybrook, Connecticut.
Yep.
I remember, I got to go back to Neil Innes for 1 second. I said the absolutely worst thing to him when I asked him about Eric Idle. And I guess they had a falling out. He goes, it doesn't matter. He still signed, I love you. But something that was not the question to ask.
Was it in regards to like Spamalot or something like
that?
Or, yeah.
Well, Neil's gotten shortchanged a lot for, the Ruddle stuff because, they actually got sued, for the first Ruddles album. And it's like, so if you actually look at the copyrights in saying Lennon McCartney, it's just like, because they considered it such a pastiche that they, took away the writing credit.
That sucks.
So that sucked.
That sucks. Fuck Apple Records.
That is
ridiculous. You can bleep me, but anyway.
No bleep it.
No, actually, I heard the one rumor I always heard was Chaz was going to start a Bad Enough tribute band called the Chazanoffs. I don't know if that's actually true or not.
I started and I haven't finished, but I've been collecting a lot of Chaz's stuff that he doesn't have anymore, and I'm going to clean it up a little bit. But it's basically
he's sweeping all my brain cells back into the dustpan and putting them back in the jar.
Yeah, it's going to be called Scratch Off. The best of Chaz, because he put out he made a little homemade CD Chaz. I love the art, but he doesn't have it. Where he actually took a scratch off ticket and it made it look like he was his face on it. It was like
no, I have somewhere that's in my Facebook archives. I found a filter that could make your face into a rubber stamp, and I'm like, wow, it looks like something on a scratch off. So I photoshopped it onto a scratch off ticket, and I was like, wow, how did I do that? But
the one thing I was going to ask too for everybody, performing in front of an audience, and you too, Patrick, could answer this. How do you get in? Because that's like something. That's why I could do a show like this, because it's just friends talking. But I don't think I do this live, like sold out at the Auditorium Theater or not. I mean, in front of the 5 people who came. But how did you get, especially going up there the first time, and just get into that mindset? And then, of course, obviously, you have to draw on the feedback, too. And I'm sure when everybody applauds or tells you, I love this is great, if you get like a cabbage thrown at you, not so great. Or if there's few people there, you have to adapt and give them a really good show. As Suzi, no matter it be 5 people at Suzi's show, 5,000, she kicks ass.
I'm going to tell you why. First, you can always thank the Brady Bunch for always thinking, oh, yeah, you just got to look at them like they have polka dot underwear on.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I look like that when I go to your shows.
No, it's not true. I don't do that. I imagine when I'm on stage, I imagine a stadium full of people. Wherever I go, it doesn't matter if it's a 1 person, 5 people, 10 people. I imagine that I'm playing in a stadium full of people every single time, and that's why I can pull that energy off. Because
Suzi, you got the mojo, you got the onstage mojo. I'm always like, it's like rock star quality. Like, I don't know how you really feel, but it's like there's 100% confidence right there. every time I've seen you.
Well, I
So
would think like you're more of like a shyer guy. Chaz a little bit Stan, and maybe a little more outgoing. I don't know, but like for you, would it just because you're like playing guitar or something? You're not the lead singer usually. Like you can just do it, and do your job, or in front of an audience.
yeah, I don't have that 100% even keel, and I can get like a racehorse. I can get spooked, so I can screw up a performance.
Well, you have your vocals. And I remember the song "I Am the King" that you sung lead on at the show at Richmond's and stuff.
I mean, that the demo's great. I came up to Rochester and did it, and I kind of got spooked like a racehorse, and we got through it. But I was like blowing lines and stuff like that. So
blowing lines, great. We don't have the cops
I didn't
on the
mean
show
that.
here.
I didn't mean snipping lines. I meant blowing lines. Anyway, I don't have the rock solid. The rivets aren't on the plane as tight as Stan and Suzi when it comes to being a front man. The plane can fall apart.
It comes, basically, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? You practice. So
yeah,
take a GPS these days.
I mean, I'm really at my best when I have everything down, and the rhythm section is locked in, and you just go, I get in the zone, and I just I could be going down the raceway, as long as the motor's running, then I got put pedal down, it's good. A few times I've, felt awkward on stage, and that's because things are falling apart, but I think, as one music instructor once said, this is, I'm doing a voice now because this was the music instructor at a school that I used to work at. Be it right, be it wrong, be it bold. So, and I feel, because the audience doesn't know if you've muffed up a line. I mean,
how do either of you guys feel about having a lyric sheet in front of your nose? Will you do that, or are you too proud to do that?
No, I do it all the time.
Okay.
I have to do it because
sometimes I'll write it on my arm.
There you go.
I'll write it all. I'll write like a little piece on my arm. Sometimes
I'm going to be looking at this at your next show, Suzi. You're going to try to guess.
None at all whatsoever. And I'll have it, and I'll read it out, and I don't care. But the reason I have the confidence that I have was watching you guys when I was younger. Because you guys, no, I'm serious. I'm totally serious. Watching you guys gave me that oomph of wanting to play when I got older, because I knew you when I was younger. I knew you at Scorgies, and I loved what you guys did. And when Rob asked me, "Do you want to be a part of this?" I was like, "Yes!"
Yeah.
Wow, I never knew that. I've seen how many of your shows, and I never knew you're really good at it. I'm going to have to look for it when I go to the show. But, you can
always tell I'm reading.
Well, you have like a comfortable stage presence. I don't know how to speak to that really, but I always would point to Colin Blunstone from the Zombies and say, okay, you don't have to go jumping around and dancing on the stage. You could just stand there like he does, but you hold the audience.
Yeah.
But how does that compare?
To acting? Easy to say if you're as talented as he is, because he's got, his little pinky hits the keyboard and it sounds like $1 million, and he's just.
But how would you compare that to acting, Patrick? Like in terms of being on, because Patrick acts, and he did before COVID. He'll do it again, I'm sure.
I mean, it's the thing you have when you're on stage is you, as opposed to, performing music, even performing your own music, is you get to be somebody else, and that is to me, that's always been the thing that helps me not worry about how I'm coming off to the audience. It's just like I'm in a performance. As you've seen me give curtain speeches for stuff that I've worked on, will know that I am not comfortable in front of an audience being myself. I never have any idea what to say. Even if I write it down, I mess it up. But I mean, I like to play, so I play, and that's, to me, that's the thing. I mean, in the few times that I've sung in public in a show, I still getting over the nervousness of that. Like, because when you're singing karaoke, you've been drinking. So that's how that works. But, and I like to sing, but I get nervous singing in front of people without,
Was there anywhere to do karaoke in Rochester?
There is. I know that there's karaoke. I know of a guy, George Schnell.
George.
Yeah, George. Nick of the Nice Guys.
Also, Curious George and the Royals. Also from the Royals.
And I was going to say, of course you guys know. He does. He runs karaoke at Thursdays and Saturday nights now, and that was the guy I would always go to because he's awesome and he knows how to make people sound good because he's got all that engineering experience, so he knows how to make you sound good,
George. There's if anybody can find it, I used to have a link to it, but NRBQ used to circulate a tape of like different highlights, and one of them was George and his other member of the Royals, which name's is escaping right now, pretending that they were big time interviewers interviewing NRBQ, and NRBQ just dumping them left and right, mocking them out. It's hilarious. Mike Hargraves, I think, was the other member of the Royals, and Mike is down in the. I think he did a couple other projects. He's down in the New York City area.
Here's a question I want to ask. It's like, how do you sell original music like in this town? And I'll give an example. I try to promote that's one thing I try to do with the show. I always try to do, anybody who knows me, is to promote all things local. But I'll have like friends and I'll say, come and see this. You know what you like. You may like this. But what do I get? Like a response last week. Well, I'm not going to come to that, but there's an Eagles cover band you could show up and go to.
Exactly.
And how the heck do you promote original stuff and get people to go? And you just hope it grows organically. And I've been doing that with Adriana Noon lately. We're trying to expand our audience. I think she's really good. But the same people come to the show, and we're glad they do. Or like obviously like Stan, when we saw Jukebox Riot, it's all the old crew seeing them.
Right.
How do we get other people just to try it? Free cookies.
I looked at, if you look at, going back to Dan Eaton Band, because, I knew those guys very well. And when they started out, they'd be playing the German House and there'd be like the same 5 people playing over and over again. It took a while for them to build up a following and an audience. And, and they worked at it very hard. And especially since they weren't really great at promoting things. They had a bunch of nice gigs that actually drew a good amount of people. And then one of the reasons why the band broke up is that Dan got a job, lost the job on Channel 9 and took a job down in Hammondsport. So, and that was the end of that band. So it's tough. And especially when you're above a certain age, because, and a lot of things changed when the drinking age went up to 21. And because you used to have people like Suzi going to Scourge's when she was 14. And, that's when the drinking age was 18. And you can kind of like, they weren't really checking the IDs of the young ladies too much. I have another story about another 14-year-old whose parents let her go to Scourge's because I was working there.
Oh,
it's like,
so cool.
But she's a publicist in California now, and
But Suzi, that's
another Suzi.
I think you could hear us. That what would you say in terms of local? How to promote original music in Rochester? And the one thing I'll go back on, I live in the burbs. I see like at the bars and stuff like that, it's all cover bands or that type of stuff. And it's like, I like original. Yeah, but there's a mix because I have those friends I went to high school with, everything else. They won't come I try to advertise all the shows, say, come on down, check them out. There's any type of music you like, I'll find something. It's like, oh, well, there's an Eagles cover band or they're playing this over here. How do you get people to come down, like entice them just to check it out? They may like it. I'm not going to go buy everybody drinks. Especially these days.
I learned that because I did sales for quite a long time. I learned that if I made business cards and I treated Anonymous Willpower or Velveteen Fox or whatever band I was in like a business, and I handed out CDs to certain people and people who other musicians, I was like, hey, listen to my music, tell me what you think of it, give me just, it's all original, tell me what you think. I don't want any bullshit. I want you to tell me exactly what you think. I don't want you to be nice to me. I want you to be honest. And getting that feedback from those people, they liked it, so they started telling other people. And because my parents had a restaurant and they never advertised, it was all word of mouth. I learned word of mouth at a young age. And I also did promotion for X and Idols and all the other fun stuff. So I learned to do promotion. And the more you promote and you make a buzz about yourself or about your music or about anything that you're interested in, the more people are going to talk about it. And if you make it interesting, you dress interesting, and you keep true to what you originally created, people are going to start to get interested. It might take a year. It might take 5 years. It might take 10 years. But if you continue to stick with it, people are going to be like, I know that song. I know that song. I've heard that song before. I heard that on the radio, because now it's played on the radio. But back then they're like, I know that song from somewhere. Who does that song? I'm like, Anonymous Willpower does that song. And they're like, well, who do you sound like? I sound like Anonymous Willpower. I don't sound like anybody else.
That's what I said. I said I called you one time a soundtrack to an independent movie. There's like voodoo rock from New Orleans. There's something of every. You put it into a big stew, basically.
Voodoo soul is what I call it. Yeah, you twirl it all around, and you add a dash of something else. Oh, look, it's Don, everybody.
Oh, so everybody say hi to Don.
Hey, Don. Good to see you. Good to see the Don.
Don.
You're taller than her.
I thought I was taller than he was.
Hey, Charles, we're in Noogie.
How's Baltimore?
He's not in Baltimore anymore.
I'm in Boston now.
In Boston
I'm
now.
in Boston now eating chowder.
Wow. But we were saying in terms of promotion too, and that's like even with the podcast, I hate telling my friends to like the, do all that stuff, but everybody seems to like it. But we have radio, like after this is over, I'll be listening to a whole lot of shaking. And Mike has done so much for our music and in terms of pop culture, even where it's like that circle where there is promotion. Like he'll be playing Prevost's album, Greg's new album, and he'll play it. And there's other stuff too.
So there's three, this is why I love Rochester. There's 3 underground radio shows that I listen to. I listen to Mike, of course. Then there's the Sherbrock kid.
Eric.
Great. And then there's Steve Litvak's High
Rock and Roll
Octane,
Rumble, which I heard before I
High
came
Octane,
down here.
Nutty rock.
Well, he mentioned the podcast and he mentioned me on the show, so
it's all good.
The check won't cash for him, but I sent him the soda. Yeah, he loves coming on the show. We were going to go see him. Suzi and Don were going to come down too, I think, but we got poured on previous Thursday, and he had to postpone it. So we didn't go.
Yeah. It was also Ron's funeral, so we were. Yeah, I was bummed.
One of those weeks.
It didn't rain on the funeral though.
The moment that his body, literally, the moment that his body went into the ground, it started pouring.
Wow. I was really sad to hear his death. I mean, like that.
Steve Lyons said it. Unfortunately, he said now as the years go by, we're losing people.
Yeah. I just found a picture, and I'm going to be posting it later. And it's Rick Hall, Scott Weichman, and John Leukemia. And that was one of the whole lot of shaking shows at the Bop Shop Atrium about 10 years ago.
Those were such fun, and Bop Fest and everything. Those were great.
I'm the only survivor.
Yeah.
Let's all surround Don. Let's all go around him.
But Scotty, Well, Scotty, we played out more with Donnie because Scotty was a little. He was
Scotty-ish.
Him and Rick would get into arguments sometimes, and they wouldn't be able to get it together. But it was fun for a little while.
Well, and Rick would piss me all the time. He would so annoy me.
I think Anonymous Willpower did a show at that crazy Mexican restaurant with the Sinwalkers. If I recall.
Oh yeah, that was at what was the name of that place?
The place that was downtown.
Yeah,
it was downtown.
Yeah,
where they had a really nice. They actually would record you.
Yep.
Well, so I guess they could say, "Hey, we're going to pay you this, but here's something you can use." So.
Right. It's like when you come off when you come out of the tunnel, the fun house. We took a picture of you screaming on the roller coaster. It's $5.99.
I had like the Scotty story I had that creeped me out galore. I find out he passed away. I just got a Facebook friend request from him.
Wow.
Who? What?
Scott, I found out Scott passed away. I didn't realize he passed away. He had just sent me a friend request.
Oh, well, then that's not Scott. So don't take it.
Yeah. Well, Scott's older sister just passed away. And because I still keep in touch with his mom and I help her out with a few things.
How's she doing? She's a nice lady.
She's an amazing, amazing person. She's got a lot more on the ball than some people have her age.
Yeah.
Actually, like too, Stan, you don't come out as much, and like I really don't either. Select bands and other things, but when you come out, it's a treat. Like saying Jukebox Riot, you gave them your seal of approval by coming out.
Hey, not only did I give them the seal of approval, but the Jukebox Riot wouldn't have existed without me.
Do tell.
Well, Kim was looking for a place to record the Hillside Youth Group band, and I thought, well, wait a second, let me ask Ron, because we could Roy, so that we could record at Nazareth. That'd be great. And then plus I can get these two guys together who should be together. And so they did that, and then they started another side project with one of Kim's students, Antonia, who's now 18, very nice, young, beautiful, talented young lady. And so that's how they came up with Boom Slang. So there's a version of the band that has Antonia, Roy, and Kim in it. And then they decided they want to do this cover thing. Now, I know Roy had a few, health journeys over the past 15 months, but he's back in great shape. And they I thought they acquitted themselves very well, playing out for the first time. It's Kim, Roy Stein, and two other Nazareth music business students. Iggy on keyboards, sax, vocals.
Who you've seen playing vocals with Roy in April too, Many. They play. Yeah. And
so they make a good team, and also then when we did, remember when last time? Yeah, before that you saw me was the Bennett for the Australian wildfires.
Yeah.
The last, I think, probably going to be the last version of New Math we'll see. We had Kim on guitar with your brother, with Yakel. And
yeah, Roy. I remember because I couldn't go because I had to take care of my dad. I remember that night well, but what are you going to do?
And that was pretty cool. They did one of Kim's songs.
They did "Rockin' in the Free World," I think, if I remember.
Well, no, that was the Neil Young show.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if. Yeah, that was different. Maybe they did do Rockin'. I'm not sure, but they did mostly New Math stuff. And
I was home. My dad pooped his pants, and I had to clean his diaper out. And I just said I can't go. Living with dementia for 5 years, I'll tell you, he was more important. We can tell where this show is going now. I remember you, Stan. Actually, a sight of you I'll never forget is you had the tinfoil hat on. You were playing the theremin for Infrared Radiation Orchestra. I think I'd let you vote.
No. I wasn't wearing the tin foil.
You weren't? Okay.
No, that was Barry's buddy from Ithaca.
Yeah.
And I have pictures of the guy, so I can prove it wasn't me.
Okay, well now you're not one of those, huh? You're not one of those. I was like saying we don't really talk politics much here, but I think that's the thing I've been trying to do on this show lately is saying how we're a lot nicer to each other when there's music and it brings people together. And I hate how you have to be put, like you said, like, okay, like we said, like Willie's right wing, like Michael Caine would say, well, I'm a right wing socialist, or I think we're all a mix, that we're supposed to join some group and not like, and I think music still is the key to bring people together because I've never really seen people fight and break out and scream. I've seen people who I know are politically opposite. I won't even name them, but I think we know some of them. But when they're out hanging out, having fun, and we're all people and we have a lot more in common than we have different.
Well, I was.
Yeah, right. The media is cleaning up all the poker chips, making money off of the culture wars. So know what you're dealing with when you're
controversy sells, I think, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we had like a recent president who was like a game show host who was, did it all his own. You didn't really have to work to find the stupid statements and stuff.
Yeah. I don't.
But no, but it's a point. But it's a point now. No, see, I mean, okay, trust me.
I don't remember any.
But like, no matter what, like if somebody said, okay, we're going to clean up all the environment, the people on the other side, it's a plot to steal your jobs and so on. You can't, and that was the one thing in reading history is years ago. Yeah, there was a lot of bad fighting. If you ever saw what they called Abe Lincoln and stuff. But stuff like that, but they would come together for some things, and we don't have that now. But like at concerts, it's like at Suzi or any of your concerts, I don't see people getting up, raising their hands. I hate you because you said this or whatever,
I think they're too afraid of me to do that anyway.
Well, yeah, I am, especially when you had that voodoo stick going around singing, I'll put a spell on you.
Yeah.
You make those noises during that song.
If you become big enough, if you become a superstar like Madonna or Kardashian or something, be assured they'll put you under a microscope and they'll go through all your Twitter posts and they'll try to find something to take pot shots at you. But
I'll be like, yeah, I said
whatever.
that. Yep, I did that. I sure did that too.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to say it.
I'd never get elected for public office. I'll tell you that. That's all right.
Chaz, you have my vote.
Yeah, we're gonna have a write-in campaign.
Right.
Yeah, write-in campaign, or actually, but I've to your point, Rob, I've actually had issues with some people, and they start talking politics. It's like I don't want to talk politics with you.
We try to keep it off the show. I
want to talk about music, and because there's one person I had some archived recordings. I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to embarrass the person, but I'm just trying to talk about, hey, I have this show that you did at Ruth and Herb's Astrological Fish and Steak, and it was recorded by my friend, Doug Rice, and I've converted to digital. It sounds great, and he's going on about this and that, and this conspiracy theory, that conspiracy theory, and so on and so forth. And I said, no, dude, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about music. And he blew up at me. It's just like, okay.
Well, yeah, that's what
happens. Talk to you later.
If you spend 10 hours a day on whatever side of the media you're reading, you will get you can get radicalized. So
I think but the problem, I think okay, Ted Nugent, I've never been a fan of his music, but say he's so tied up in his politics that it's hard to separate. Like if you Henry Rollins has said it, where he's like, I actually like Ted and his music, but I wish he wouldn't do this stuff. But I think some people, I don't know if they do it. I think it's a work for a lot of people where they're trying to get attention because I don't think anybody's nuts.
He's monetizing that.
No, since day one.
But I'll tell you one thing. If they deplatform him, I will support him because I don't like this shit about kicking everybody off.
No, and I'm somebody I believe I think artistic freedom, you can't really censor, but that's another story. But something I'm going to want to just talk about briefly. We'll have to have you back for a sequel. And hi, Ariel, we will have you on. I saw that. We will have you on. But we'd love to have you back. We'd love to have you back for a sequel. But in terms of Stan, especially you on this one, technology. I remember I used to say, like back in the day with new math and other things, it sounded local because of that. Now it's amazing. And I think the other thing is there's so much out there, and that can be a problem. I've become acquainted with the recording process through to Adriana with Andy, but you can find so much, get it all out, but you really have to look. And then number two, it's so much easier. Like we're doing this show basically in a bunker, you know, with some little equipment. You can get it out and spread the word. You have to try to find it, but also just what do you think the future is in terms of musical technology? And I'll be talking to Tom Cohen tonight, you know, probably go, well, vinyl still, but in terms of like platforms and everything else, where are we going?
I think, you know, it's just organic. You know, because if you follow the arc of bands who are artistically have credibility, that in watch them grow over the years and see how things just like grow exponentially, you know, then you know they're looking at things other than physical media to support them, you know, because physical media, the record company, you know, they have you where they want you. But if you can captain your own ship and you know, build, you know, from person to person, building bricks, and then you've got something. I you know, all the machine pop stuff that is out there where like, you know, somebody, you know, it's not like Stevie Wonder getting a Grammy for writing, you know, just enough for the city per se. It's like a group of 5 people who've written a song, and it's gone through a couple different producers and maybe been engineered by Mick Guzowski. You know, so you know, the local Rochester, you know, shout out to Mick Guzowski. But what about bands like Minor Characters? All right.
Woo!
Yeah.
They actually, I don't know if you can't really see it, low resolution. But
shout out to Pat Thomas, PT.
That's
Pat.
How about this guy right here?
That's when I was back in Pat, man. I'm still tight with Pat. Pat is the shit, man. Pat's a good guy.
Well, I always looked at one of my things is bless them like on American Idol, all the voice, everything else. But I used to picture like I would do a parody of, say, Tom Waits went on The Voice or Dylan. Can you imagine how quick they get what they'd say when they got booted out?
Well, you know, that goes back to what you were talking about with Suzi about, you know, going out and trying to promote a band, and people say, hey, I saw these guys, they're like the Eagles, you know, and they do, you know, a lot of Glenn Frey and Don Henley songs, you know, and meanwhile there's, you know, Suzi up, you know, wailing and you know, jamming, and Don doing his best, you know, voodoo, Dr. John meets, you know,
Elton John,
Professor Longhair. No, Don is more fest than Elton.
Oh yeah,
right, Suzi? Yeah,
absolutely. You know it.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what I think's going on too is we're just in a phase now culturally where you know, we're in a little micro you know, a salon of people who know each other with similar affinities towards the same bands and stuff like that. I don't think it's 1965 where every middle class household is buying a Beatles album. Or even, you know, in the 1982, everybody bought the same Michael Jackson album. I think it's all been atomized into like little micro islands, like micro economies of culture. And your show right here is an example of it. It's a very singular, unique set of affinities of certain people who know each other.
And I seem to know a lot.
Really it's actually really powerful. It's actually cooler than watching Jimmy Fallon or whatever.
Well, you know what I do? Thanks, we appreciate it. Us being called cool, especially. But you know what I still do for music? What do? You know it, Chaz, especially. I ask friends, what are you listening to? And like I asked Caitlin, what are you listening to? And Josh Netsky, when we were hanging out the one night, he was like, oh, try the Fruit Bats new album. It's great. That's how I do it. I ask for recommendations.
Well, corporate media wants to cast a huge net and rope everybody in, and it's lame. So now people are empowered, like Stan says, to find what they really love, and it might be the same 150 people. You're not going to make $1 million, but it's it's powerful,
and it is, and it's like we have to wrap up shortly, and we hope we could have a sequel because we could talk for 3 hours, again. Right. So hopefully, if you enjoyed, come back. But one of the things, musicians, this has actually come out a lot lately because I'll see some shows you're at venues, and I'm not going to name them, where we're background music, and like you have the fans, but nobody they're talking. Where I heard, like for example, The Little. People love to play there because everybody's into the music and listening. And I've always said, like shows at Abilene, obviously, and you think, okay, if you're paying your money for these shows, why are you talking and interrupting? And I think musicians love that when people are paying attention. I think the best might be where people might go, hey, we don't even know why we're going out. I just want to go out. Let's try this bar. But they get entranced by the music. And I think that's a great feeling when you connect with somebody. And that's what I think why the big shows don't have that. You get that connection. And maybe I'm pretentious about that or whatever, but I just think that's what you feed off of, except like at some plays where MJ would make fun of me during the play. There's a couple I had to yell at her afterwards. But yeah, you get that connection, and then you can talk to the artist too, and you get the feedback that, hey, I dig your stuff. Like we've gotten asked, like when Adriana played at Abilene, people, I tell Danny, we're working on demos. People want them. And I think that's part of the feel. And I think those musicians appreciate, they recognize you coming out.
It's tough being in Rochester. I'm sorry, Suzi. I mean, you're going to say something.
I'll go to you next.
Because we're such a small market, we're geographically in a weird place. Because to play anywhere outside of Rochester, it's like we played in Massachusetts once, twice, and it's just like to. When you're not at that, when you're at that older level, you just getting out there, getting music out there and distributing yourself. It's not like the old punk days when everybody just piles in a van and they sleep on everybody's floors and maybe their equipment doesn't get stolen. But another thing that's nice about Rochester is that we have had a tremendous opportunity to catch artists on their way up and artists on their way down, we might have an opportunity to see, for example, at the Bug Jar, some legendary people came there before they were big.
White Stripes Bug Fest. White Stripes. Yeah. I'll give the one that sticks up the most for me is when New Math opened up for Cheap Trick at the Penny Arcade, and they threw crap at New Math. And I guess like Rick Nielsen in Buffalo the night after raved about it. But what did they do in the day? They played Penny Arcade, War Memorial. Then I guess they played like the auditorium and they went down again. Yeah. But you saw the whole arc.
Yeah.
I like playing smaller venues because it's harder to play smaller venues. It's a lot more challenging.
And I know me finding a seat during COVID, I have to get there an hour early. Sometimes.
Yeah. It's a lot more challenging to play to a smaller group of people than it is to play to a huge crowd of people, because you have to really pay attention to everybody there. You have to pay attention to what you say, what you're saying.
Eye contact.
You really have to lay it on thick and give them a show.
Right.
And here's a great example. Shamikia Copeland, when Rochester International Jazz Festival, first year, she came to town. She played at Montage when it was still the Jazz Fest. The Jazz Club. There were maybe 40 of us in that room, and she came to every single table and sang to every single one of us personally. And that's the type of spirit that I like. I like doing that, like Copacabana style stuff, where you can be able to like give people that attention that they really want.
Just don't do it. I have the one thing that bothers me in concerts. I hate when artists try to stand on a table because I'm always afraid they're going to fall. The flush tones do it every time I've seen them. Like one of these times you're going to take a tumble. But what I like doing too is like I've seen like Michaela go to upstate New York or like Fox 45. I'll go travel, or I used to back in the day, and seeing reactions of people. And I'm like, I know these people. I see this all the time. And seeing how people get off on seeing them for the first time is awesome. You know, you feel special because you're like, I know this person. You'll be surprised. Surprise, surprise,
Well, maybe,
surprise.
Maybe she'll get signed to a big label and make it big. And then, thanks to Rob, we knew her when. She's so.
Yeah. And hopefully,
she's still on, and
I'm
Suzi
hoping for Adriana too.
All you guys that are still doing it.
Yeah, cool.
Maybe
would you like to come
back?
Come back sometime? Have a second part. You're all rolling. We can't go for 3 hours. People will get bored even if it's good.
And Rob, I don't know if you've asked him yet, but I think maybe you might want to get Bruce Pilato on your podcast.
He's been on.
Oh, I missed it then.
Oh, look for it. It's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame one. He's on that one, but we'll get him again.
So is it true there's a Del Rivers show coming out?
Well, Monday Dell's coming on.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
You know who else you should get up on here is Heidi Alcott.
Oh, if she's up, we could Zoom, obviously. We have to get Ariel on.
Still down in
And
Florida.
in line right now.
Falcon Fairy Moondrops.
That's right. And that's my she's my space sister.
Yes, and she's benefited a lot from singing with you.
Oh my God, I love her. She's the first. She definitely took what I taught her and used it to her best. Absolutely. I'm so proud of her. The one thing, Suzi, what's coming up now? I know you've been putting out new tracks and everything else, and we'll try to wrap up now a little, and we'll just we are doing the first Friday of every month. We're putting out a new single, so we're writing new music all the time.
I see it.
And we're playing on the 15th at Photo City Music Hall.
Which I'll post because this might not be out by then, but I know I'm going to be there.
And we're going to be playing with Soul Passenger. Then we're playing, God willing, Goddess willing with the weather over on September. Oh my God, really? July 24th at House of Guitars from 1 to 3.
Here's hoping.
And their outdoor pavilion, Suzi, is up near the outdoor pavilion? Yeah.
And for you two, are you doing anything like more stand probably? Because Chaz, I don't know if you're doing as much.
Well, Big Ditch is planning to do some recording this summer.
I heard they ditched doing that a couple years ago.
No pun intended.
My show, I could do this stupid.
We're right there, buddy. We're going to take care of that, if you know what I mean.
So you're doing
some recording. You have throat cancer now?
Yeah. How you doing there, Charles?
He's holding the thing up to his throat.
Hey, kids, don't smoke.
No, we're a lot of it's predicated on availability of Jack Schaefer. He's making the bagels, and he's been working every other Sunday at Bagelland in Brighton. That's owned by his family. So and then also still pending is Lotus STP coming out with via Mal Thursday. We're going to do like a best of compilation. I think tentatively it's called Pick Your Own Pickle. Goes back to the old days when I had bootlegs or unofficial releases in this tape that we called Soak This Tape in Brine.
Kim Draheim did that for his little, you stick your hand in his little pumpkin, get a gift. He gave me like a bootleg CD, which is cool.
Yeah, you know what? You'll have to have us back because we will talk about we can talk about giving out prizes like the Bubba album and all this stuff.
Bubba.
So
anyway, Stan, maybe we might have something on the end here from the ferrets, maybe or maybe not, or
yeah. Let me see if I can pull that up. So hang on a second.
Once again, it's a maybe. We don't promise, but you never know.
Yeah. All right. So
we finally got the Del Rivers song.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, Del, good old Del. Let me see if I can pull this up.
We love Del. Del's great.
Oh, he was interesting.
No, that was.
I heard you like the song too. I heard you like the song.
The song was great. Yeah.
I haven't heard it yet, actually. I got to hear it tomorrow.
So also shout out to, I think Stan might have gotten this stuff from our friend, RIT videographer Russ Lunn, who is a low on the radar guy who's another.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. Oh, my God.
Oh, my gosh.
Who is that handsome young man?
I look like a cat that just got pulled out of the fur bath.
Can you hear
That's Russ Lunn. Shout out to Russ Lunn. This is an unreleased high-budget video with, like, super...
this guy's a teen idol.
Honestly,
yeah.
Think about any early video on MTV. It's not any... The quality is not any better or worse than most of the
shirt's blinding a little bit.
Oh, man. Thank you, Stan. And thank you, Russ Lunn. Holy shit.
That's great.
Are you wearing lipstick?
I'd do myself.
So would I.
There you go.
You can swear on this show. It's cool.
Oh, my goodness. Stan, you've blown my mind. Holy shit. So we need to give, the whole Russ Lunn thing is a whole other conversation too, because he's like the unsung archivist of a lot of this stuff, including new math and personal effects. And he's financed the archives for this himself, and he could use some publicity too. So
we'll talk and we'll set up
get
part
that
2.
guy on too.
We'll have some surprise guests. But everybody, we'll go listen to a whole lot of shaking now, and then I'm going to go to the box shop hear some jazz drumming. So thanks everybody for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
And Watkins and Rapier's at the Little. Speaking, you mentioned the Little earlier.
Thanks, comrades.
It was a small mention.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody. Night.
Bye, Suzi.
So great.
All right, take care.
Love you.